Plain satellite radio, no problem. That's it. You want to go back to CarPlay? That's it. You want to control CarPlay? That's it. Welcome to DONSLIFE. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do the walkthrough on the new 15.6 inch screen on my GMC Sierra AT4. Let's go. Now before we get started, make sure you check out the installation video for this product because I am not going to cover any of the installation in this video. Definitely go watch that one, look at all the questions and answers that have been provided, because this one's going to focus on the walkthrough of actually using the new screen and a couple things I figured out along the way. To make this video happen and all the testing, I'm going to be using a lot of electrical without running the vehicle. So I'm using my Pro 25S by CTEC. It has a supply mode feature right there. That is going to allow me to use all of my electronics without draining the battery. Pro tip for you. So my apologies for not making this video sooner. I really wanted to, but I also wanted some meaningful screen time with this new device so I could hopefully address a number of the questions, if not all of them, that you left in my installation video or that you left in the comments on some of the posts on my community page. I know you have lots of questions like, do the cameras work? Does it have CarPlay? Yes and yes, but we're going to get into the details right now. All right, I wanted to get the lighting and picture quality as best I could for you. Let's start the truck and see how fast it boots up. I'd say that's pretty fast. Now it's connecting to Bluetooth for Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth through my iPhone right here. So it's connecting. There's CarPlay is ready to go. Play some music. So as you can see, this is wireless Apple CarPlay. It's also compatible with wireless Android Auto. So this here, Car Auto, is the app for CarPlay. Mine has it to automatically start. You don't have to have it set up that way. I can back out through this exit screen here. This is really handy because that way CarPlay is not actually closing. So you want to remember that feature because you might want to go do other things and still have CarPlay playing music in the background as an example. Before we go too far into Apple CarPlay or any of the other apps that are on here, I wanted to direct your attention to this button right here called InTouch. It's called Console if you're in a different theme. I'm just in a basic theme right now. I kind of like this better than what was preloaded. But when I click on that, it brings me to all my original features that I have on my original head unit. So it's all here. Everything's adjustable. And I'm going to show you a way that I set this up that I feel will make it work better for most of you if you're worried about having to switch between making a phone call and use your media. So let me address that first. Before we get into how I set up the unit, it's important to try to understand how this operates. Think of it as an extension of your original console, which is right here. So we have all the original items that we've always had, yes, including the cameras, which I'll get to in a little bit here, but we also have Sirius XM. There's the tuner right there. I can turn the volume up and give you a taste. So that's working. FM radio. Even stock up on some of their perfect plate. It works. And then this here is the screen. So the screen is connecting to the Bluetooth module built into your truck. So here's where it gets exciting on how I set up mine. So it's less cumbersome, in my opinion, when you want to make a phone call or receive a phone call. So let me show you. If we go into our Bluetooth devices or our phones, you can see I have two simultaneously connected. When you first install this, the instructions tell you to delete your phone because they want your phone only connected to this screen. So you're using your phone to make all your phone calls through the screen and all of its touch controls. But not all of you are going to want to do that. Some of you want to use your steering wheel controls. So I'm going to demonstrate that shortly. I'm going to make a phone call to Mrs. DONSLIFE, get her to make a phone call back to me, and I'm going to show you how we don't have to turn off our XM radio as an example, or we don't have to turn off the apps that we're running. It will just pause them we'll finish our phone call, and then we have the app available again to resume playback of whatever we were doing. So let me just show you how this is set up right now. This is very important, because if you didn't do this, this could be problematic. But under my phone, Donnie Pro Max 2, Apple CarPlay has to be turned off. Also, you want to make sure that secondary phone is selected so you can have more than one device connected at one time to the vehicle's Bluetooth transmitter and receiver. And I also have the first to connect set as the screen, which is the GT6 BTD. So when I get in the truck with my phone and the screen connects to the Bluetooth module first, then my phone connects secondary. So if I go to the GT6 BTD settings and check them out, you can see I don't even have CarPlay as an option to set up there because I don't want that to be enabled. But I still have the secondary phone set up, and I still have first to connect is the screen. So what does that mean? Well, let me show you. All right, I have CarPlay on right now. I'm going to have Mrs. DONSLIFE call me. I'm going to move the camera a little bit here so you can see that I use the steering wheel to answer. She's supposed to call me here in a few seconds. Just turn the volume down with the steering wheel. See that? I can adjust it right there with the steering wheel controls. But see, I'm using CarPlay. She's going to call me, and I don't have my phone hooked up to CarPlay, but just watch. Here she's calling. Mrs. DONSLIFE. Mrs. DONSLIFE, incoming call. Sure, I'll grab that. Hello?
Hi.
Hi, how's the audio?
Sounds good on my end.
Sounds good on my end too. I hear kids in the background. Everything okay in there?
Yeah,
okay.
We're good.
Okay, great. So you called me, and then I'm going to call you back just to show the viewers how this works.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
So you said you had something to tell them.
Oh, you put me on the spot. They should all consider subscribing.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Okay. I'm going to try and hang up on the steering wheel. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Bye. See? Easy. And now if I look at what's playing, it's right here. Okay, let's call Mrs. DONSLIFE back, but let's have satellite radio on instead. So let's put Sirius XM on. Got a news channel so you don't get a copyright strike. So I'll leave at low level volume. You'll hear them talking in the background. And now let's try and call Mrs. DONSLIFE hands-free with the steering wheel.
What would you like?
Call Mrs. DONSLIFE.
Mrs. DONSLIFE, please say mobile or home.
Mobile. Just cover the phone number there.
Hello?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm still as good as I was 5 minutes ago.
Good. Can you still hear me? Okay, I'm going to talk to you while I just go into a different app. Oh, look, I went into CarPlay and they can all see you. Perfect. So...
What? Not
no,
me.
no.
I'm not on FaceTime. Okay.
No, you're not on FaceTime. They can see your very beautiful avatar.
Okay.
Now, just a test, we're going to try and touch the screen and mute you. So I'm going to ask you a question. We'll see if you can answer.
Okay.
Do you like all the mods that I do to my truck? Did you hear that?
You muted yourself.
I know I did.
Oh. Yeah, no, I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, perfect. So I'm satisfied. I say this works just fine. So thank you for the demonstration. And
No problem.
I'm showing them that I still have controls on my screen, on the steering wheel control, which they've seen already. I'm going to end this call, so I'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
So here we still hear the XM radio.
See some sort of stabilization. We think the carrying
But I'm on
phase two
CarPlay.
sides,
So I'm showing you this does dual function. XM radio's on, but we're on CarPlay. Now, earlier I talked about how you have to think of this as an extension of your original console. So you can use this shortcut button down here. You can switch between apps that you have open. So you remember I'm on XM radio right now, but if I wanted to listen to another device, it would be no different than pressing a button like that. If I go back to the Android screen, which I'm on right now, I have CarPlay still here, and I can play CarPlay. So, as you can see, it works just fine. Depends on how you set it up. Okay, another demonstration for you. We're in CarPlay, we're playing music from the main screen in CarPlay, and you have multiple apps depending on what you put on there. If we click this one here, it takes us back to this interface. So I still have the music on. I'll keep it on so you know what's on, just quietly. Just a little bit there. And then we're going to try some other apps. So I have my air compressor for my airbags in the back of the vehicle. So we're connected. Let's increase the pressure. We should hear the compressor kick in. Let's release some pressure. Not sure if you can hear that, but the music is still playing. Let's try another app. Let's say we want to adjust the ambient light. We can change it to match the interior. I'm going to leave it on white. I think that looks closer to everything else that's here. And that was it, that easy. Maybe I want to control all the lighting for my vehicle. Well, remember I have this aux beam switch right down here. Right down here I have this aux beam switch. Now let's turn that big light off that I just turned on. See, right there. Right here. Now I haven't labeled these yet. I can label them to match my panel down there. I just haven't done it yet because I'm making you this video, and making the video is more important than setting that up. All the while you can hear my music is still playing. But what if I want XM radio to play? Well, no problem. Let's go back to XM radio. XM. And now we can go back to what we were doing. Easy. So a couple more apps I'll show you here. I have the ability to connect to my OBD2 port scanner. So I can read codes, do all that stuff right on the fly on the vehicle. So that's pretty cool. Of course you have things like Spotify. It's going to require a data plan of some sort, but you can definitely check all that stuff out. Now you might be wondering about connecting to the internet. That's this icon up here. You can swipe down for a shortcut to get to it, and you can turn your Wi-Fi on. That will disable CarPlay. I'm just going to block this while I pick my home network here in my garage. There, we're connected to Wi-Fi now. You can see I've got 4 out of 5 bars, and now we can do anything that has internet connectivity. Before I demonstrate a little bit of that, a SIM card with a data plan built into the SIM card slot on this device would be the best way to go if that's available in your area and it's affordable, because that way your Wi-Fi isn't actually needed because you're using LTE, and then you should be able to keep your CarPlay connected, because how it normally works is if you use a device on Wi-Fi and you try to connect CarPlay at the same time, they're trying to use the same Wi-Fi connection with the device that it's connected to, and unfortunately you lose it. Let's take a look at some of the internet connectivity, starting with the Play Store. You can see you have access to all the different apps. Not every single one's going to be compatible, but you'll be able to find quite a few that are. Obviously I've done that by adding things like my switch panel as an example. I added my OBD2 scanner. We can check out our maps. We can figure out where we want to go in the world. So that works pretty cool. You can see how responsive it is. I have no complaints about the responsiveness of this touchscreen. It's up to par, we can say. Maybe you want to use the Sirius XM radio app with your data plan if you don't want to have to go back to your original console, or you can just go back here and you can use Sirius XM like this. Put it back on my screen so all the sound's out of my screen, and we can go back to where we were, we can go home, whatever's easiest. Let's do a Netflix demonstration because it's connected to the internet right now. So I have a downloaded clip. I'll show you that first actually. So this is downloaded. Don't worry, it's not full screen. You can crop it back down. I just pinch zoomed it in, and then you can play your shows. Audio with any Bluetooth device in your car is going to be a little bit delayed. There is no way around that until they start designing these things not to do that, but it's very common. But let's go to home and Netflix here, and let's find something and play it. So as you can see, you can download right to the device, or you can play it. Again, it looks zoomed in, so I can just pinch it down. There it is. So no doubt it works. And then other video apps are going to be similar. You can put different weather apps on here. It's 22 in Saskatoon right now. Not too bad. I wonder what the 14-day outlook looks like. It's looking up a little bit. It's pretty rainy. Not really a great rest of the month. Comfortable temperatures, but going to be a little bit wet, it looks like. Check out the radar, see how we're doing. So as you can see, we can do a lot of different things. Anything you could do with apps. Now you might be wondering about the wallpaper. So I've had a chance to play with some of that as well. You can see what I did here. I went to the all app screen. So this is all the apps that I have. And I was just playing around with live wallpaper because why not? And I actually downloaded a couple different wallpapers. We'll set this one as our wallpaper. And then it should ask us if we want to set it for our home screen or our home and lock screen. We're going to set it to the home screen. So that should be in place now. Now when I go to the home screen, you can see I have a live wallpaper background. So yes, you can change your background. That's just one way with live wallpapers. I haven't played with this for days on end, but I found out how to do that pretty quickly. So I'm sure we can figure out how to do some other customizing. I'll overlay an image here while I'm talking of somebody that's heavily customized this interface, and I don't even know where to start to get it to the level of customization that he's been able to do with it. But you can see what's possible just by looking at these example images here. So let me direct your attention to the climate controls again. You might notice I have nothing really turned on right now, but if I hit this knob in the right hand corner in the middle, that turns them on. So you can see the fan kicked on to auto. I'm going to go in here right now and I'm going to set my different fan locations. You can see all these lit up in the bottom right hand corner. I'm going to press this middle one again. You can see the light turns off. I can turn it on from down here. It turns on up here. So all of this is responsive. All of this works just fine. I can not sync or I can sync my temperatures. So everything is here, everything you've come to expect. I just can't turn on these seats right now for the ventilated or heated seats because the ignition has to be on all the way with the engine running for those to work. But I assure you they work, and I demonstrated it in my first video with the installation with a bit of the operational preview. And of course the knob on the side here increases fan speed or decreases fan speed. I'll just turn it off for now so you can hear the microphone better. So you can also download your content to a USB drive. I've got the installation video downloaded here. I'll probably use a phone hotspot to get internet. We have our installation manual here. Got some QR codes to help with setup and install. But what I like is there. So you can see how that works, not a problem. Let's get the truck on the road and let me show you some of the camera operation. Okay, so I got Mrs. DONSLIFE here. She's going to help me with the camera demonstration. So you can see I'm in Carplay right now. We can turn the fan down here, or we can turn the fan down here. I'm turning it down because I don't want to hear it while I'm doing the recording. Now this screen will actually fade away after a few seconds. Just like that. This is a very important button here because this can take you back to the main screen to do other things, but you can see Carplay is still alive. So you don't have to close Carplay to do other things. So a very important button right there. But you want to know about the cameras. Mrs. DONSLIFE, can you put it in reverse? There, this will auto trigger the reverse cameras. We can do the different configurations that we're used to depending on our trim level. We can look at all our wheels. Turn the wheels left and right just a bit. See? Yep, turn it back straight. We don't want to do any dry steering. We got all our 360 views, everything that the truck had to begin with, it still has all of it. Okay, so that settles that debate. Now put it back in park, please. Now it goes back to your main screen. Now I know you're wondering about towing a trailer and if the camera mirrors operate when you signal. They do in this screen. So if you're on this screen, they'll work normally. But if you're say on the home screen here or doing something else in one of the Android apps, it's not going to trigger automatically. You would have to bring this up manually. I gave them the feedback and they said it's something they're going to look into, and hopefully they can add that feature with an update down the road. But for right now, only reverse will trigger the screen to go into the reverse perspective. Otherwise, you have to go to the console right here if you want to see any of the original features. Here's our camera from the console. Mrs. DONSLIFE is driving. You can see right there we have our proper functionality. And when we're at a slower speed, it'll unlock all the extras, but we can still look at some of these here. So the cameras still work fine. Plain satellite radio, no problem. That's it. You want to go back to Carplay? That's it. You want to control Carplay? That's it. So here's split screen with Netflix and Google Maps. Let me demonstrate a picture-in-picture and split screen example. So right now we're playing Netflix. I'm going to swipe up, hit the home button here. You can see this is minimized and I can put it wherever I want. Let's just tuck it up over there. Now let's open up Maps. You can see I have Maps open. Now if I go down here to our quick launch, that's what I'm calling it anyway, I can actually hold it down a little longer and let go. And it'll show me that I have an icon at the top that's ready to go for a split screen. It's asking me what I want to be on the bottom screen. Now not all apps are compatible. For example, this app, it says app does not support split screen. I've asked the developer if they could look at making the console as part of the split screen so you could see your original dashboard plus whatever else you want down at the bottom, as long as it's compatible for split screen. But since that one's not compatible yet, let's use Netflix as our example. And you can see we have Netflix playing on the top and we have our maps on the bottom. And we still got our volume here.
I know. Hold on a second.
Okay, so we have video on top and we have our maps down below, and you can choose which app you want to engage with quickly on the fly if you don't want to stay in split screen, or you can still use it with the amount of space that's here, which I think is pretty good. So if I wanted to change this, go to something else, no problem. Maybe I just want to see the maps, no problem. Maybe I just want to leave to the home screen, no problem. So I just noticed I didn't have YouTube on this screen, no problem, let's add it. Grab it from over here, drag it wherever I want it here. Now it's on my home screen. Let's open it up. Let's go to some DONSLIFE videos. Let's pick one. Skip the old ads. See, it's playing right there. But let's say we want to do our split screen. Remember, hold that button down a little bit. So we have Waze on the top, DONSLIFE video on the bottom. We have our climate controls right there, handy dandy. And if we wanted, we can always go back over to our console. And you can see we can go back to our console and we can do anything that we wanted to, just like normal. Maybe you like your factory navigation. Well, you could leave it connected so you could get your navigation in your heads-up display as well as your gauge cluster. And then you could be doing things with the Android interface over here. So lots of options. You just really need to get used to it. Another neat thing to customize is you can add widgets. So I got the weather one right here. I've got Google Chrome right here, so I can just start searching in Google. You can do that with other apps as well, as long as they're compatible. So we can go to Maps as an example, and we have the widget option when we hold it down. You have a few different widget options for Maps. I'm just going to leave it as is. You don't have them for YouTube, that's okay. Not every app's going to have widget options. Just do a long press. It'll tell you if that option exists, and then you can see if there's an alternative version or versions of how you want that displayed. There's this one here for Waze. I'm not going to use that one. Spotify might have one. Yes, it does. So they have a couple different right here. So you get the idea. Now on my wish list, 2 requests, if you will, that I've put in with the developers of this screen is I'd like them to take the console app here and allow the top half to be available as a split screen option with other things that are in the Android environment. So maybe you could have YouTube on the bottom and you could have this console on the top. I think that would be a really good pairing as an example. And also that when you're towing a trailer, it will trigger the left and the right mirror cameras when you're signaling left or right, so you can see the path of the trailer wheels that you're towing so they don't hit a curb or anything like that. It's really helpful to have that when it triggers on its own. Or the workaround for right now is just be in this screen. So when it does trigger, you'll see it on the screen because this is the native display. So all of this operates as it should right from the factory and you have access to it at any time. Again, just a couple things to point out. You want to make sure that whatever you're connected to is what you're trying to listen to. So I'm on Sirius XM right now. If I want to listen to things that are through the Android screen, which is this big screen here, you want to have that selected. If we want to listen to something on our phone, like phone calls, for example, it would be here. But when we make a phone call through the truck, it's going to connect to that by default based on the way that we set it up. But I just wanted to let you know the distinguishment between both of those right there. So right now you can see, since I connected to the screen, the last video we played was my DONSLIFE video, and that is what is selected right there. So it's not going to play it right now. It's actually on pause on the Android screen. So if we go back to YouTube, it should be right there. Hit play. Piece here. There we go. Sits in behind the thing. So you understand how that works, hopefully, by seeing that demonstration. I know there's a few more questions I probably haven't answered yet, and I'll answer them right now. So audio output, no. This does not have audio output for an amplifier or a system if you want to upgrade it. It only has audio input and a video input for an extra camera. Let's just look at some of the settings and I'll give you a brief overview of several of them. So if I go into the settings menu, we have our modern style, which is what I have it on right now, and then we have the classic style. I wasn't a big fan of that. I'll go back to it here so you can see it. This is what it looked like here. Didn't really like that one, so I'm going to go back to the settings now. So you can put it how you want, but I like mine to be on modern style. Day-night mode I actually found works fine. I have it set for auto. You can have it set day-night or according to the time of day. Auto's been working fine for me. You can set your time, dimmer. So I've got asked the question about, is it too bright at night? Well, you decide. So you can choose what that looks like. So right now it thinks it's night because I've made it so dark in my garage. So I can actually dim this quite a bit to determine how bright I want it at nighttime. So that is fully adjustable and you can make the changes as you see fit. This doesn't have an external antenna connected, so that is not an option. I've got all my settings here. This doesn't have a built-in radio tuner, so we don't really need that turned on anyway. If I go to audio, we do have equalizer gains, but this is going to be within the environment of the Android system. It's not going to be the equalizer for the audio that's built into your truck, like your XM radio or your FM radio, as an example. There is an external microphone. I have it plugged in. It's supposed to help with the voice commands and the controlling of the screen. So I've tucked it away by my steering column, but I've been making my phone calls with the built-in microphone of the vehicle and any of my voice commands. So I got both connected and both seem to be working fine since I've been playing around with it. Video in motion, this is so the videos will play when the vehicle is in motion, any of your video apps. And then you have some options here to customize, what everything is going to look like your app customizations as an example, what your music app's going to be, so on and so forth. You can do a bunch of things here. Which apps do you want to start automatically? Maybe I want to have my lighting panel start automatically so it's ready to go. That might not be a bad one, so I'm going to actually turn that one on. That way it's always connected to Bluetooth right away. That way I don't have to wait to use it. Again, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but we have our system settings here, and then we have our setting guide. When you take delivery of one of these, you may have to change something in here. This has to do with the compatibility of your vehicle's year and screen size. When I got mine, it was actually on the wrong setting. So I contacted them and they gave me the code to select the right setting. And I was able to make that change and everything fit and looked proper. I'll leave that up to them to give you access to that menu to make those changes. That's not up to me, and I don't want to cause problems for them or for myself or for you. And then you can see a few other settings here depending with door triggers and stuff like that. I didn't really have to change anything apart from the model that this was preloaded as when it was shipped off to me. Back in your system settings, you have a number of different things. You can see your GPS. I'm getting a signal here. I put mine up in the corner of the dashboard for now. I've got to tuck it away a little better than it is right now. But as you can see in the garage with it closed, I'm still getting a GPS signal, which is good. And then you have, your steering wheel controls. Mine work fine by default, so I don't have to touch anything here. I can change my satellite radio stations and everything like I could on here before. So none of that's changed for me. And then the Android settings are here. So if you want to change some things, you can. This wallpaper setting works like I showed you with these TikTok apps. As an example, I loaded live wallpapers on there. I'm sure there's other ways to do it. I haven't had time to play around with all of this yet, but if you have an Android phone or a tablet, a lot of this will seem quite familiar to you, so I'm not too worried about that. If you don't have an Android tablet or phone, well, you got a little bit of learning to do, and there's lots of YouTube videos for that, but I don't want to make this video all about that. Maybe down the road we'll do some videos on how I've customized mine and how I like it, but I've only had mine now for I think like 10 days, and that's not a long time to become super acquainted with it. So I wasn't able to review absolutely everything because not everything's necessarily functional. So at risk of repeating myself, I'm going to do a rapid fire listing. I've got a list right here of a bunch of answers to questions that you provided or questions that I've asked from the manufacturer. So do all the cameras work? Yes, I've demonstrated that. XM radio, yes. All the original applications that your truck came with, you still have access to them and they work just fine, including steering wheel controls, including the heated steering wheel. Audio output for an external amplifier, no, unfortunately doesn't have that. Is there a way to still do it? Yes. You'd have to hook up a line out converter. For the car audio guys out there, you know what that is. This adds wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. So even if you just had like a 2019 with wired CarPlay, this now adds wireless as an option for you. Unfortunately, when playing video, there is an audio delay. That's normal. If you were to take your Android phone or iPhone and you were to hook it up with Bluetooth of your vehicle, watch a YouTube video on it, you'll notice the audio trails behind the video. That's normal for Bluetooth in a vehicle. I don't know if there'll be a fix for that with any device, but this still has a little bit of that lag as well. So I just want to be transparent with you and let you know that it has that. Unless it was hooked up a different way, like through the auxiliary port in the truck, then there would be no delay that way because it would be analog and there would be no encoding and decoding going on. Either way, it does have a little bit of a lag that way. I'm kind of used to it in my world, but just in case it's new to you, be prepared for that. You might be wondering about cold temperatures. Well, operating range is minus 30 Celsius or minus 22 Fahrenheit up to 70 Celsius or 158 degrees Fahrenheit. They haven't tested below that. They're going to do some testing and let me know. So one day I'll hopefully report on that, or they'll report it on their website. I just had to switch arms here. That one was getting pretty sore holding the camera up. So the next one here, fan speeds when making phone calls. So when you make a phone call currently with your truck in stock form, it reduces the fan speed when you're making the call and then resumes the fan speed, ramps it back up when the call is over. So mine still does that based on the way that I set it up. Will it do that when you make Bluetooth calls through the new screen? No, it won't. I've given them the feedback. They're going to look into that as something they can maybe program in. So maybe that feature will come. I'm happy with the way I set it up, so I'm not really too worried about that. You may be wondering about glare. They already have some anti-glare sheets. They're going to send one my way so I can install it for you to show you what that looks like. So that is available too if you decide to get one of these. They're on their website. That's my quick list. Hopefully I didn't repeat myself too much, but you can't blame me for being anything but thorough. So is it perfect? Well, no. Can I do everything I used to be able to do, but maybe in a little different way? Yes. Does it do more than my original system did? Yes. Will it take a little bit of learning? Absolutely. Now there are a couple questions that you probably still have and I'm going to answer them. I just don't have a way of demonstrating them because I wasn't able to necessarily figure them out, or it's not possible. So one of the questions was that little external speaker that's shipped with the unit that's supposed to be used to hear notifications. Well, I think that that's only going to work with certain apps. When I'm doing something with my original factory stereo or sound system, and let's say I have a navigation app through the Android system playing, I want to be able to hear the turn-by-turn direction, so I'm thinking that's when that speaker might be audible. I was playing around with it, and for the 10 days that I've had this, I wasn't able to make it work, so I left it plugged in, but I just tucked it in behind the dash. Now I mentioned this in recording the video. I'm not sure if I left it in there when I was doing the editing, but I want to say it at this point again, so if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. But I think a data plan with a dedicated SIM card would be the way to go to get the best experience out of this. Yes, you can hotspot with your phone to get internet. Yes, you can use your OnStar or data plan through GMC or Chevrolet for your truck. That'll work too. You can use Wi-Fi in areas where you have range to be connected, but you'll find if you use CarPlay a lot, CarPlay and Wi-Fi from an external source don't play nice. It usually picks one or the other. So if you have a dedicated SIM card, you'll have a better and more seamless experience if you're using CarPlay a lot and you want to be connected to Wi-Fi at the same time. So again, my experience is about 10 days. So when it comes to reliability and glitches and things like that, I can't report any yet. But I would think that I'll probably encounter some here and there, to be honest, full disclosure. But I have the same problems with my phone. I have the same problems with the original GM system glitching. I've had times where I've turned on the vehicle and my screen's just black for a while, and then it comes to life, or I've got to turn off the vehicle, turn it back on, and then the screen returns. So it's hard to say with electronics what's going to do what and when. This screen definitely changes the character of the interior, and I'm happy that I have it installed there right now. Now, like I said in my installation video, and hopefully you've watched it so you understand the reference here, but now that this is out, I expect more to come to the market. I'd expect to see more competition. And here on the DONSLIFE channel, we'll try to bring you any information when it comes to those type of things whenever we can get our hands on them. My advice with this screen right here is to think of it as an extension to the system that you already have. You have your XM radio, you have your FM radio, you have all your original apps, and then you can access this as well to give you a bunch of extra expandability to your platform and on a nice big screen. If you want to get yourself one of these screens here by AUCAR or AUCAR, I'm not really sure exactly how to pronounce it. Either way, the link's in the video description. Use the promo code DONSLIFE to save yourself a little bit of money. And if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing. We'll talk to you next time.